Do you think it's better to use a paper map or a map on your phone? Why?
I think using a map on your phone is better. It's much more convenient because it gives you real-time updates like traffic or road closures. Also, phone maps have GPS and voice directions, so you don't have to keep looking at the screen, which is safer. Paper maps can be useful if you don't have internet or your phone runs out of battery, but these days, you can even download maps offline. So overall, phone maps are just easier and more practical for most people.
When was the last time you needed to use a map? Why not?
The last time I needed to use a map was just a couple of weeks ago when I visited a new part of the city. I was attending a friend's party in an unfamiliar neighborhood, so I used the map app on my phone to find the best route. I didn't want to get lost or waste time wandering around, so having the map helped me navigate efficiently and arrive on time. Honestly, I rarely use paper maps these days because digital maps on phones are so convenient and reliable.
If you visit a new city, do you always use a map to find your way around? Why not?
Not always, but I usually do use a map, especially if it's my first time visiting the city. I find that having a map, particularly on my phone, helps me explore confidently without worrying about getting lost. However, sometimes I prefer to just wander around and discover places spontaneously because that's more fun and adventurous. Also, when I'm with locals or friends who know the area well, I rely on their guidance instead of a map. So, it really depends on the situation, but generally, I find maps very useful for navigating new cities.
In general, do you find it easy to read maps? Why not?
Generally speaking, I do find it quite easy to read maps, especially digital ones on my phone. They usually have clear labels, zoom functions, and sometimes even 3D views, which make understanding directions straightforward. However, I used to find paper maps a bit confusing, mainly because they can be cluttered and hard to interpret quickly. But with some practice, I've become better at reading all kinds of maps. So, overall, I'd say it depends on the type of map, but nowadays, reading maps is not a big challenge for me.
Describe an occasion when you had to do something in a hurry. You should say what you had to do, why you had to do this in a hurry, how well you did this, and explain how you felt about having to do this in a hurry.
One occasion that immediately comes to mind was a few months ago when I had to prepare a presentation for work in a hurry. The original plan was to have several days to get everything ready, but unfortunately, my colleague suddenly fell ill and asked me to step in on very short notice, just a couple of hours before the meeting. I had to quickly gather all the necessary information, organize it logically, and create the slides under immense time pressure. Despite the rush, I managed to complete the presentation on time by focusing intensely and avoiding any distractions. I even rehearsed briefly to make sure I could deliver it confidently. Looking back, I think I did quite well considering the circumstances, although I felt quite stressed and a bit anxious at first. The adrenaline helped me stay focused, but I definitely prefer having more time to prepare because working in a hurry can be overwhelming. Still, This experience taught me a lot about staying calm and managing my time effectively in urgent situations.
Do you think it's okay to arrive late when meeting a friend?
In my opinion, arriving late when meeting a friend is generally not acceptable because it can be seen as disrespectful and inconsiderate. Friends usually set a meeting time based on mutual convenience, so being punctual shows that you value their time. That said, I do understand that unexpected circumstances, like traffic jams or emergencies, can sometimes cause delays. In such cases, I believe it's important to inform your friend as soon as possible to avoid misunderstandings. However, if someone is habitually late without a valid reason, it might negatively affect the friendship, as it could create frustration and erode trust over time. So, while occasional lateness is understandable, consistently arriving late is something to avoid in order to maintain good relationships.
What should happen to people who arrive late for work?
I believe that punctuality is crucial in the workplace because it reflects professionalism and respect for others' time. Therefore, if employees arrive late regularly without valid reasons, there should be some form of consequence. For example, employers could implement warnings or deductions in pay as a disciplinary measure to encourage punctuality. However, it's important that employers also consider the reasons behind the lateness. If someone occasionally arrives late due to unforeseen circumstances like public transport delays or family emergencies, they should be given some leniency. On the other hand, habitual tardiness without a legitimate excuse might warrant stricter actions, such as formal warnings or even suspension, depending on company policies. Ultimately, the goal should be to promote responsibility and accountability while maintaining a fair and understanding work environment.
Can you suggest how people can make sure they don't arrive late?
Certainly, to avoid arriving late, people can adopt several practical strategies. First, effective time management is essential. This means planning their day in advance and allocating enough time for each task, especially commuting. For instance, they should consider potential delays like traffic or public transport issues and leave earlier than usual. Second, setting reminders or alarms on their phones can help keep them on schedule, especially if they tend to get distracted or lose track of time. Additionally, preparing everything they need the night before, such as clothes, documents, or bags, can save precious minutes in the morning. Finally, cultivating the habit of punctuality requires self-discipline and motivation. People who value their commitments and understand the impact of being late are more likely to make punctuality a priority. By combining these approaches, I believe most people can significantly reduce the chances of arriving late.
Is it better to study for long periods or in shorter blocks of time?
In my opinion, studying in shorter blocks of time is generally more effective than long, uninterrupted sessions. Research shows that our concentration tends to wane after a certain period, usually around 25 to 30 minutes. By breaking study time into manageable chunks with short breaks in between, often referred to as the Pomodoro technique, students can maintain higher levels of focus and absorb information more efficiently. Long study sessions can lead to mental fatigue and diminished productivity, which means that despite spending more time, the actual learning outcome may not be as good. On the other hand, shorter, well-planned sessions allow the brain to rest and consolidate knowledge, improving retention. That said, the ideal approach may vary depending on the individual and the nature of the subject. Some complex topics might require longer periods of deep concentration. Overall, though, I would recommend shorter, focused study blocks combined with regular breaks for optimal learning.
What are the likely effects of students not managing their study time well?
If students don't manage their study time effectively, several negative consequences are likely to arise. Firstly, poor time management often leads to increased stress and anxiety because tasks pile up and deadlines loom closer, creating a sense of being overwhelmed. This can negatively impact their mental health and overall well-being. Secondly, inadequate planning usually results in rushed or incomplete work, which compromises the quality of their learning and academic performance. Students might struggle to grasp important concepts or miss out on opportunities to revise thoroughly, leading to lower grades. Furthermore, failing to manage time properly can disrupt their daily routines and reduce the time available for other important activities like exercise, socializing, or hobbies. Over time, this imbalance can cause burnout and reduce motivation. In short, managing study time poorly can have a domino effect on both academic success and personal life, so developing good time management skills is essential for students.
How important is it for students to have enough leisure time?
I think it's extremely important for students to have enough leisure time. Balancing study with relaxation is essential not only for maintaining good mental health but also for improving overall productivity. When students have time to unwind, engage in hobbies, or socialize with friends, it helps reduce stress and prevents burnout, which is quite common among students who focus solely on academics. Moreover, leisure activities can foster creativity and critical thinking as they provide a break from routine and stimulate different parts of the brain. Physical activities, in particular, are beneficial for both physical and mental well-being, enhancing concentration when students return to their studies. Without sufficient leisure time, students may become fatigued and less motivated, which can negatively affect their academic performance. Therefore, I believe that striking a healthy balance between work and leisure is crucial for students' success and overall happiness.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us in today's interview. Wishing you good health and the best of luck.
Thank you very much, madam. I also wish good health and the best of luck in life.